Hi everybody, this is Gatsat for the Sad Truth. Yesterday, after a typical long day of work, I decided to turn in and watch the NBA playoffs, Golden State versus Oklahoma City. I made the mistake of checking my Twitter feed one last time before I would sit back and enjoy the game, and noticed that some folks had written to me wondering whether I was aware of the event that had transpired with Milo Yiannopoulos that day at DePaul University. I hadn't. Someone was kind enough to share the clip with me. I watched part of it and decided to alter my plans of watching the game and instead spend the next few hours weighing in on Twitter about the grotesque reality that had unfolded. For those of you that don't know, and is regrettably is happening at an increasing rate on campuses in the West, if somebody doesn't like a speaker, if they don't like whatever he or she might have to say, then they try to stop it. And in this case, some folks came on stage, disrupted the event, stopped Milo from continuing with the event. They were quite clearly threatening in their demeanor. I'm not sure whether legally it passes the threshold of assault. Hopefully Milo will explore all possible legal avenues. But in any case, the event was regrettably and prematurely cut short. And in that sense, the agitators won. They didn't like what he might have to say, so they shut it down. So a couple of points to make here. First of all, I could have just as easily ignored whatever happened to Milo. I mean, Milo's been a guest on my show. I know him personally. He's a fun guy. But hey, who cares about Milo? I could have just ignored him and watched the game. But if you are sufficiently fond of liberties, then you realize that this has nothing to do with individuals. It has to do with a principle. And the principle is that in a free society, you don't have the right to shut down the voices of others and then claim that that's your freedom of speech. It is simply astonishing that folks actually argue such a point, as happened yesterday on my Twitter feed. Some person was exactly intimating this viewpoint. Hey, well, what's wrong? I mean, they're just exercising their freedom of speech. I mean, I don't know what that person could be thinking when espousing something so profoundly idiotic. That person has the exact same voting rights in a democracy as you do. In any case, because of my engagement, I checked my Twitter metrics today just to get a sense of whether my tweets had any impact. And upon my last check, just before starting this clip, I think I was at 628,000 tweet impressions just for today. Now, I don't know how much impact I had in terms of the grand debate, but at least I know that I can sleep well at night knowing that I did whatever I could to contribute to the battle of ideas. Can all my colleagues in academia claim the same? Probably not. I didn't see Twitter lighting up from many of my colleagues because they were probably too busy pursuing other interests. Nothing is more important than freedom of speech, than freedom of thought, than freedom of conscience. And certainly no one should understand this better than academics. So that's point number one. Point number two, I was simply astonished by the rare instances where somebody would write, as I said a few minutes ago, some profoundly idiotic thing demonstrating that they fully and perfectly don't understand the most basic tenets of freedom of speech. One person with whom I had a bit of an engagement and then decided that it was futile was basically arguing that, look, she just has this instinctive hate toward Milo, and therefore she can completely understand that given how grotesque of an individual he is, then hey, what's wrong with what they did? She supports that. So she couldn't understand that there was a greater principle involved here, right? And again, this person has the same vote that you do in a democracy. So in any case, the key points to take away from this incident: number one, be engaged, right? I didn't have to, after a very long day of work, after now about to enjoy the rewards of my hard work that day by watching a great NBA game, I didn't have to get involved. I did. Please do. We all have a voice. It doesn't matter how big or small your platform is. Contribute to the battle. Incidentally, on a personal note, I'm currently facing my own issues with what I call commercial censorship. Now, it's not censorship in the true technical sense of the term, but several of my YouTube clips have been flagged as advertising unfriendly. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea why, but I do know that they all relate to one key theme, which will go unmentioned. Shh, don't say anything. The censors are watching. Maybe there's a way that you could contribute to that particular issue. I know that many social portals now look for material that does not toe the line of the thought police, and then they will act accordingly. Again, this is very, very worrisome, right? I mean, everything that is great about the West is ultimately rooted on the first bedrock principle of freedom of speech. Incidentally, one of my clips that was now deemed advertising unfriendly is precisely the one that had generated the most ad revenue over the past few days. So by definition, it had actually been very successful in terms of ad revenue, and yet somehow the censors must have decided that this topic was inappropriate to the thought police and decided that it is no longer advertising friendly. The clip in question, by the way, is my very reasoned and measured chat with Robert Spencer. It has received, I think, 13,000 plus views, has a hugely favorable like to dislike ratio. There's nothing objectionable in our discussion, and yet whatever is the algorithm that's being used, or if it's specific individuals that make these decisions, they've decided that I cannot monetize that clip. And so far, out of my 176 clips, I think 10 or 12 have been deemed non-monetizable. Again, it's not the question of how much money I'm losing, because in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. It's the principle, right? It's the idea that there appears to be a theme that is somehow untouchable. That is grotesque, and it is an affront to the most basic tenets of freedom of speech. So please get engaged. Thank you for listening. Spread the word. And if you can, please contribute to my Patreon account. If you appreciate what I do and realize how much time and effort and, frankly, risk I take in doing what I do, please contribute. Thank you.